Hello, this is going to be like a series for Jupiter conjunctions or Jupiter aspect with different planets. So, as you know, in Vedic astrology, it's always better if the planet is on its own in a sign. However, some people have got two planets in a sign, or three, or four, or sometimes even five or more. And but I'm going to do today, start uh, with Jupiter conjunctions or aspects, and we go from there. Clearly, the aspect is going to be better with Jupiter, any planet actually, because obviously, if there is one agenda per house, it's so much better than having two agendas per house. So, I feel as though it's always better if the planets are particularly if they're friendly towards each other in good condition, if they could be aspecting each other rather than being together, because that kind of means that two people are talking at the same time. So you can make things, but obviously we've got no choice. We have chosen what we've chosen, and we're dealing with what we're dealing because we chose to do this. So I'm just going to go through the indications of Jupiter, and then as through this we'll go through different planets and what it's like being with Jupiter. So obviously, Jupiter and Venus are two absolute benefics. With Jupiter, I'm going to just put so-called, because Venus generally, unless it is a bad planet for you, is the planet that does not discriminate in any way, shape or form. But Jupiter, on the other hand, Jupiter is a bit fussy, and it does kind of like once it's a bit choosy about what and whom it kind of is connected with, if you like. So anyway, let's have a look, because that once we go through it, I'll give you some more information about Jupiter. So Jupiter is planet of the bigger picture, basically. It's planet of contentment, joy. It's Jeeva karaka. That means it's life force, basically. And it creates opportunity, optimism. It's planet of learning, wisdom, teaching, higher knowledge, happiness, joy, wealth, education. It's the karaka, or the significator for children, which is our biggest joy. It's the planet that we look for in terms of religion, justice, travel, because it rules 9th natural sign of the zodiac and 12th natural sign of the zodiac. So 12th house is spirituality, faraway lands, and 9th house is very much to do with pilgrimage, or basically going away for, say, education and coming home, and religion, belief system. This planet of spirituality, as I said, belief system, it's idealistic planet. It rules all forms of things like psychology, those kind of philosophy, and planet of expansion, and also it's how we set our goals, if you like. It rules, as I said, Sagittarius and Pisces, and they could not be two more different signs, really, because Sagittarius is very focused on goals, much more goal oriented than as Pisces. Pisces is much more floaty, go with the flow of life, because also water sign, and it's a more creative sign. Whereas Sagittarius is much more like about getting the job done. And whether it's you always want to have a look at your Sagittarius, where it falls in your chart, because even if it's, say, for example, if it's your 3rd house, so that will be your Libra, Sagittarius means that everything that you say, because this planet is how you communicate, 3rd house, has a goal, has a message, has a direction. So it is, wherever Sagittarius falls in our chart, it has a direction, it has a focus, it's got a means of getting there, and we can be a little bit more direct about that in a sense. Any planet that is actually in Pisces is a little bit lost anyway, because it's not grounded, because it's Pisces, it rules feet, and feet and a water sign. It's a strange setup, really, isn't it? Unless if you're a mermaid. And so we're not really completely grounded about any planets that fall in Pisces, generally speaking. So it's more connection with other realms, really. So, and Jupiter is friendly with Mars, Sun, Moon, Mars, Sun, Moon, and also I would say with Ketu as well. But it's neutral with Saturn, and it's unfriendly enemies with Venus, Mercury, and I would say it's not good with Rahu. Rahu can bring deception, so it's and this is our ethics, really. This planet, so it's not going to go very well. As I said, it's Jupiter can be led by class, it can discriminate, it can be a little bit snobbish as a planet, and it can make us be a little bit too idealistic. Like, for example, if it's in your seventh house, this is the sort of person they want to be with. They've got to be like this, they've got to be like that, they've got to come from that sort of background, that kind of thing. So they could actually, somebody with Jupiter in the seventh house can have those kind of ideas. And in a sense, what will happen is, like, they could really overlook really wonderful partners because of that, because obviously they don't live in the right side of town, they don't drive the right car, that kind of thing can be very much the theme for Jupiter. So that's something to be aware of. Whereas Venus is not like that, because they see with Venus, they see the potential in the person. Jupiter can't see that potential. So this is the difference between them. This is where you can get a bit naughty. So for me, Jupiter, for example, what it does, it has it actually impacts my third house. So what it does is, like, I'm constantly learning. And then I really need Saturn, which luckily I do have that helping. It kind of makes me much more grounded and brings it together, because if I was just to let Jupiter do his thing, I'll be constantly doing third house stuff, and I can literally be on course after course after course after course, and I'm too old to be studying. I finished education in 1980, so well, that was just like teenage years, but just generally speaking, it can just keep you going for years. And you be constantly studying, because you always feel as though there is an ocean of information and I need to be diving in there. So really, it's good if then Saturn does ground you and actually think, well, how about consolidating? It's no point learning if you don't put it together and utilize it. So yeah, it can be a little bit naughty like that. So anyway, so that's kind of what Jupiter is all about, really. And I just wanted to just say Jupiter rules the liver and loves sugary foods. So Jupiter is good for some. Obviously, it's going to be good for some ascendant and not so good for other ascendants. So you'd always want to just make sure that you look at all of those things as well. Don't think that it's just because it's Jupiter is going to be good for you. It's not that case at all. It's not a good planet, for example. It's definitely not a good planet for Libra ascendant or for Taurus ascendant. It can create lots of difficulties for them. So yeah, but I find even if it's a bad planet for them, in transit it's a lot more gracious, really. It does work really well for that. And overall, I just want to say that it is the planet of, it does give you opportunities, which is the most amazing thing about Jupiter. Right, so now I'm going to do Jupiter conjunctions. Thank you. Jupiter rules Thursdays. You rules color yellowy kind of orangey, mustardy colors. And it's exalted in Cancer, which is a sign of family and being a unit together, having each other's back, and debilitated in Capricorn, which is all about status and achievement. So it's doesn't really like that as such. It also, yellow diamonds are ruled by Jupiter, and citron, which is a beautiful, they're both very beautiful and create that optimism, that yellow color. So that's pretty lovely. Okay, let's start the conjunctions or aspects with other planets. Jupiter Sun conjunction or aspect. Clearly, it's very difficult to be conjunct with the Sun because the Sun is so bright that can overshadow any planet. And for Jupiter to be next to the Sun, it has got to be between 12 to 15 degrees away from it, not to be combust. But obviously, an aspect will be amazing. But yeah, so it is worthwhile knowing that Jupiter obviously is such a slow-moving planet. It's better for it to be as far away from the Sun as possible in order to achieve really good, it's for both planets to work well. If it's combust, then it means that there will be some difficulties in some of the indications of Jupiter, which I already discussed in the previous video earlier in this. And sometimes you get it, so it's cazimi. Cazimi means that it's within sort of like less than 1 degree or less of the Sun. In which case, what it does, it creates extreme wealth for some, depending on the sign and everything. But obviously, it's going to, this is like your Jeeva karaka, and the closer it is to the Sun, the more it's going to impact your health. So it's worthwhile knowing that. So, Sun. Sun is obviously, more than anything, is inspiration because it's a creative planet, rules the natural fifth house of the zodiac, Leo. Vitality, confidence, your father, your self-esteem, personality, where we shine is seen through the chart where the Sun is. How we lead, intelligence, creativity, kingdom that we build, how we shine, our purpose, our ambition is all about the Sun. And the two planets are friendly towards each other too. So it's really nice. It is also, bear in mind, obviously, that just like anything, any planet always does well if it is sitting on its own, so it can just get on with its own agenda. And actually, if it's in own sign or in a friendly sign or exalted, even better. But when there are two planets involved, however friendly they are towards each other, however much they delight one another by being together, there's like two agendas, like two people talking at the same time. So there is a bit of issue there. But generally speaking, I take this as being very good for advice, because one is intelligent, one is wisdom. And if they're in good condition, these people normally are, and even more as they mature and with experience of life, they are really good advisors to people. They can be very positive as well, which is lovely because the two planets just work so well together in a sense. And Jupiter is obviously positivity. They also have this positive outlook on life, generally speaking. They make great consultants. It's depending on the ascendant, this could be very good for wealth, position, joy and happiness, and more than anything, contentment. These people can be very content. They can also be quite grateful too. But obviously, check for combustion. I've just put that as a little hint there. They can become great teachers, great philosophers, and wonderful leaders, inspirational people, really, in a sense. So, because of the both planets are, they just got this one rules the 9th house of natural zodiac, the other one the 5th house of natural zodiac. So they're both trinal lords in the natural zodiac. There are obviously some downsides as well. Like, for example, there could be quite a lot of expectation. That Jupiter can be like that, so can the Sun. So they could just be like, if they're very close to each other, and Jupiter is combust, so we could just be like leading our children in a sense. The combination brings protection also to the soul, because Sun rules the soul, vitality. And like they say, Jupiter just can glance at a sign and blesses it, and that's what it does, blesses the soul. It fills one with happiness, and they can have this happy-go-lucky way about them. The soul is optimistic, expands the sun with what is just like, it's almost like feels a bit light. Obviously, optimism and happiness, it makes one very enthusiastic, vibrant, and happy. Gives hope to one's journey and creates solutions. And obviously, because of intelligence now is backed by wisdom, they, and hope. So they can actually have quite a lot of goals, and they can be very focused on them too. Obviously, there's a problem with ego there as well, because wherever Jupiter is or aspecting is going to expand there. So if it's aspecting the planet of ego, it's going to be like give the person extra ego. So they probably think that they can actually, their advice is better than anybody else as well. Or I know what's good for you, that kind of thing too. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? One can become a bit short-sighted and imagine that their inspiration is other people's inspiration, or feel everyone should benefit from their intelligence, their wisdom, their religion, and their belief system and educational, sort of experience and knowledge. So so that's the sort of thing that can happen. So it's like mine is better than yours, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, it works quite well. And the thing is as well, it's sun rules leaders and politicians, royals, things like that. And Jupiter is very much the general of the army. So it could be like have a military thing about it too, depending on what sign it goes into. And it could just be the person is very much set on a very, very, wealth management, definitely politics, justice, the judiciary system, that kind of thing. But generally they want to lead, because sun is about leading. And when sun is there and you've got the planet of expansion there, they are very, very career minded. And obviously sun is one of the karakas for, or significators for, career. So therefore it can expand that too. It does also mean that obviously all of these things can apply to the father as well. So the expectations of the father from you can be quite high too. And if your Jupiter is also combust, so it just feels as though you're constantly trying to live up to the father's expectations. So it's very important for us to realize not to do that to our own kids, and just let them be the inspiration that they are, and actually just encourage them to follow their dreams, not necessarily ours, really. So that's it. That's from me. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.